This is all about Retrofit 25, and we are going to just do quick introductions and then get into the content of what it's all about. So my name is Sarah Edmonds. I am one of the co-directors at the National Retrofit Hub, and I am joined today by...
I'm Rachel Owens. I'm one of the other co-directors at the National Retrofit Hub, and we're also joined by John and his team. So John, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Rachel. So I'm John Bonning. I'm the commercial director here at the Building Centre Construction Hub based in Store Street, central London.
So the objectives of this collaborative exhibition and programme of events is essentially to challenge the question of what is stopping us. So we really believe that by showcasing the action and activities of retrofit across the sector, because we know there is a lot of really, really wonderful work happening, but we believe that in order to accelerate and enable more action and activity, we need to showcase that. And by doing that, we are also promoting the value of collaboration, and it's a sort of a positive feedback loop. The more we see, the more we're inspired, the more we can do, and so it goes. So really it's that, and we recognise that the history of retrofit exhibitions at the Building Centre is strong, starting with Retrofit 23, which was all sort of looking at, well, John, actually, I'm talking about your
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is our third programme around the subject of retrofitting. Retrofit 23 looked at how we achieved residential retrofit work at scale. And this year for Retrofit 24, we moved on to the reuse agenda for commercial, cultural and civic buildings. The engagement was fantastic in terms of people in the industry, but also general public that wanted to learn about the subject and undertake these measures. So we've got a wealth of material from the previous exhibitions, a huge audience. I mean, to give others a flavour for sort of Retrofit 24, it was a 6 months exhibition. We delivered over 25 events. There was about 300 attendees to the actual visitors to the exhibition on a weekly basis. We get about 1,500 people coming to the centre during the course of the average week. But to actually visiting the Retrofit 24 show, we had somewhere in the region of about 300 visitors on a weekly basis throughout the whole duration of that exhibition period. And for those that are not aware, on the back of that, we deliver a large events talks program in terms of panel discussions, webinars, tours, family days. So it's quite broad in terms of our reach and the messaging that we want to get across. And it is, I think, the thing to stress, Sir Rachel, is that this is an educational, curated exhibition. It's not a trade show, and that's quite important actually for those that are not familiar either with the Building Centre or what yourselves do at the National Retrofit Hub.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's a really nice segue into what the structure of Retrofit 25 is going to look like. So onto the key themes. We have really, as John was saying about having taken the view on housing and then on commercial, what we know is that retrofit is really not just about one building typology or one particular focus area, but actually it's a big system challenge. And so what we wanted to do was explore what those themes might be. So you'll see on the screen in front of you, we have got 8 themes. We're going to go through those in a little bit more detail. And then when we get to the end of that, we'll have opportunities for a bit of questions and answers around that. So Rachel, would you like to start?
Yeah, happy to. So our first theme is retrofitting communities. And here we're sort of saying, we know in all of these themes that there are barriers that people are already aware of, but we also know that their solutions to lots of these barriers are already out there. We just need to make them apparent and scale them up. And that's part of the purpose of this series. So we think that there's community groups play such a fundamental role in delivering really good quality retrofit from in terms of engagement, in terms of bringing people along on the journey, in terms of making sure that it's done in a just way. But there's a real lack of resources and clear support and guidance for those community groups. So what we want to do here is to have retrofit projects that actively engage with communities and local needs. We've got a few key questions we want to ask as part of this theme, which is how we can engage and empower communities. I'm sure many of you have worked on projects where that engagement has been a really fundamental part of the retrofit project that you've been working on. We're also thinking about what necessary resources and support is needed to enable this change, and any examples of that we want to be able to speak about. And we also want to learn directly from examples of community-led retrofit emerging across the UK. And we know that there are pockets of excellent work going on, so we want to showcase them and inspire others to take their influence. We think the future here is really that retrofit is planned and delivered in a way that focuses value in the hands of communities and enables citizens to take control of their own environments. So we really want to showcase initiatives, insights, projects, and all different sort of types of action that really helps that future come about.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the next, which is retrofit hearts and minds. So again, the same format will follow with these themes around how we're structuring it. So the starting point, of course, is the statement around what's stopping us. The prevalence of substandard housing in old buildings is a major challenge to engaging with retrofitting, despite its clear benefits. Whether housing stock or commercial properties, hearts and minds need to be aligned. And I think this is something that we will often talk about, where retrofit as a topic has often come from the construction industry or the built environment from a bit of a technical perspective. And so we can see the benefit as a built environment, but necessarily that's not what is what drives people in their decision making. It isn't about what EPC am I got, or how many kilograms of carbon is my heating system generating. It's probably a lot more about, will I feel more comfortable? How will it make my home more resilient? How will it protect my community? And so I think really we want to get to the bottom of some of that. So we need to see, a deep shift in cultural perceptions around retrofitting, but also really around like what our homes mean to us and how we move away from that as a question about cost and money straight up and down, but actually into a much more nuanced conversation. So key questions would be how we can transform societal perceptions of housing to prioritise comfort, safety, and investment in all homes, regardless of ownership status. And I think we know that's some of the problems that we've got with current models of delivery. But also how clients can be persuaded to upgrade and reuse existing commercial, cultural and civic building stock. With the hope that the future of retrofit becomes a cultural movement and helps define what we expect from our buildings, making them places of dignity, comfort and worthy of investment. We'll move on.
So our third theme is around jobs. So we know that this isn't just a skills shortage, but it's also that a lack of a visionary approach to workforce development that anticipates future needs and embraces diversity. So we want to showcase thinking that is leading towards a more forward-thinking workforce strategy, building on the existing RMI sector, equipping people already in the space with the skills that they need, and also bringing in more people to do those really needed jobs. We want to ask questions about how we're going to build a workforce that is not only skilled, but is diverse, inclusive, and ready to drive the retrofit revolution. So we know of small pockets of excellent work in this space where people are being engaged and brought into the industry. We want to hear more about those. And we think the future here is that we want to inspire a new generation of workers who really see these as like really exciting green jobs that they can find themselves a place in.
What we're not used to actually is stopping after that and not getting into the detail of it. So you might see us pausing after this going, I'm not ready to move on. We're going to move on because we're going to come back to it. We have months to explore this together in this programme of exhibition and speaker panels and so on. So retrofit, carbon and materials. Yes, so we know that the current approach to developing and upgrading the built environment risks exceeding our carbon budget, and it neglects the importance of localised, low carbon and circular solutions. So we need to promote retrofit solutions that respect planetary boundaries, carbon reduction, resilience, and the well-being of future generations. Of course, locally sourced materials that are low carbon and sustainable in the long term are crucial in that. So key questions would be how we can ensure that retrofitting contributes positively to the planet, reducing carbon footprints and building resilience for future generations. So the vision for the future of retrofit here would be that retrofit projects are a model of sustainability, balancing local needs with global impacts and contributing to a resilient future for our planet.
Next up, we have a theme specifically around innovation. So we know that there's a lot of potential in this space. There's already a lot of innovation trying to come to market, but that potential is being untapped, it's under-supported, it's really slow to progress, and there are really critical challenges for those trying to innovate in the space. So we want to leverage innovation and technology, but not only technology, we're really interested in innovations in processes, the way that we work, and also data to transform the retrofit sector. We know we need to fundamentally shift the way that we're delivering retrofit if we're going to do it at the scale, pace, and quality we need. So the key question here is how can we make more visible and better support innovation in retrofit and make it more accessible and really focus on the practical collaborative solutions that drive that meaningful change. And we think the future here is really about a collective and mission-driven innovation. So we want to hear examples around that and how we can make our buildings smarter, more efficient, better suited to meet future demand. So this could really encompass anything from smart energy systems within buildings that allow them to use energy at different times of the day, all the way through to innovative processes by which we engage local communities and everything in between.
Retrofit and money. So what's stopping us? I think probably lots of people will feel like, well, money is stopping us. But I think it's really, really complex actually as a particular system piece. So we know that financial barriers and lack of economic incentives are stalling retrofit projects. But what we do also understand that it is a lack of coordinated financing and strategy. Not only the cost of undertaking the work, and this can lead to missed opportunities for all sorts of groups of people, individuals and investors as alike, actually. So what do we need? We need to explore financial models and economic opportunities that can drive retrofitting on a large scale, ensuring it is accessible and beneficial to all. And I think there's something really interesting when we talk about large scale, and quite what the nuance is within that as well is something that we'd love to explore a little bit more. How can we, as a key question then, how can we better align existing financial solutions with the needs of communities and investors, unlocking new financial pathways and economic models to make retrofitting a cornerstone of sustainable growth? And I think even those words we feel a little bit like a bit clunky around using, because I think we recognise that it is about unlocking financial flows to build social value, really as much as anything else in that kind of divisive word growth. The future of retrofit then in this space would be that it's seamlessly financed and coordinated to transform economies. I think we have to challenge the economies that things are being delivered through, and then creating wealth in its full term. I'm doing a lot of justification of words here, but this is, I think, what I'm interested in to see what we can get under the skin of with this topic. But it is about really examining those current economic structures that we're operating within.
So our seventh theme is on ethics, and this is really crucial to everything that we think about around the way we deliver retrofit. So there are currently dilemmas and human rights concerns, exploitation in the supply chain, poor working conditions, and these things can sometimes be sidelines because we've got so many other things to think about when we're designing a retrofit project or any other project. So we want to ensure that the projects that we are delivering are ethical and they uphold human rights. We want to hear examples about, responsible supply chains, people who have done work to improve working conditions, and really maximize the benefit that we can have to workers and occupants. The future here really is looking at retrofit projects that set a new standard for ethical practices. So really thinking about maybe if you're a big organization, your CSR strategy, your social value, how that feeds into the way that you do work. That could be everything from engaging with local supply chains, local SMEs, upskilling locally, all the way through to how you make sure that what you source isn't sourced from an unethical place. And also it impacts workers and occupants. So we're talking about fair treatment and improved well-being across the whole stakeholder chain.
And the 8th and final theme is the whole value of retrofit. So I think really this is a question around, the what's stopping us piece is that the narrow focus of upfront cost in retrofitting, it does overlook the broader and more, I suppose, all-encompassing outcomes. I suppose historically, maybe we call this co-benefits previously in retrofit. We're not really using that term anymore as much because I think we're recognizing that these are also really fundamental front and center benefits. So health, well-being, social value. So we need to consider the cost of not doing things in more systemically adjusting ways. So what do we need? We need to expand the definition of value in retrofit projects to include those other metrics that we talked about, rather than just focusing on the cost or direct financial returns. So the key questions would be how we can redefine the value of retrofitting to encompass a broader range of outcomes. And I think that redefining is really important, and it has to become part of the tools of delivering retrofit. So you can think of procurement in this space as one thing that maybe doesn't immediately come to mind, but that is one way, and the range of metrics and how we leverage the use of those metrics. And then the future of retrofit would be that retrofitting should be recognised for its true value, enhancing life, improving health and happiness, and contributing to a more equitable society. So there you have the themes. John, do you want to talk briefly about the partnership opportunities?
Yes, thank you. That's great. So to start with, this exhibition will be a 6-month exhibition opening on the 26th of March, 2025. I'll give you a little bit of a timeline in a moment in terms of when sort of decisions and partners need to be in place and so on. But there's going to be 3 levels, and we're trying to attract all types of businesses and organizations. So there's various ways for you to get involved. It's going to offer you the opportunity to present your knowledge, expertise, products, services to a wide range of professional and public people alike through the exhibitions and the talks program. There's going to be 3 packages, a principal partner. As a principal partner, you'll be inherent in everything that's going on over the actual exhibition, curation of the exhibition and the talks program. So that really starts from now. So effectively, there's a sort of 5-month leading period to the opening of the exhibition in March. You'll get full branding exposure across all the platforms. To just give you a little feel for that, what that actually means. As I mentioned, we'd hope to be attracting somewhere in the region through our marketing endeavours of 300 people to the exhibition on a weekly basis. We have quite considerable databases between National Retrofit Hub and the Building Centre. If you look at the Building Centre's database, you're talking 40,000 contacts that will get direct mailing campaigns, advice on talks that are taking place and other events. We have somewhere in the region about 33,000 people across social media platforms. And actually, we estimated off the back of Retrofit 24, we had 25 partners for Retrofit 24. And actually, if you collated all their outreach in terms of their databases and social media audiences, it was in excess of 1 million people that was informed about the exhibition and the program of talks that was going on. We're also, there'll be a sponsors level, and this will range depending on the contribution. But what we're looking for is a number of companies to support one of the 8 themes that Rachel and Sarah just explained. So you'll be involved in the discussions around that, and there'll be opportunities to, if you're an architectural practice or an engineering company, you may want to highlight projects. If you're a manufacturer, you may want to have a bit of product curated into the show somehow. So lots of different opportunities. We will bespoke things because people want different things, and we understand that, and that's why there's sort of variation in terms of the sponsorship level. And then finally, we really want this to be all inclusive, and we do understand there's lots of micro businesses there, startups that don't have the large marketing budgets, but we would like them to share their knowledge and ideas. So we're happy to talk to you too and get you involved in some fashion. In terms of the timeline, we would really like to have all the partners in place by Christmas. So we've got a presentation that we can send out, a sort of media pack explaining the levels of engagement and to initiate those discussions. So anybody that's interested can just contact us after this webinar. And then my colleague, Laura Broderick, who heads up our partnerships and exhibitions, and myself will be delighted to have one-on-one discussions with yourselves, or you can always reach out to Sarah and Rachel as well. And then during January, that will be the time that we will start pulling the exhibition together, and we actually have to go into production from sort of the beginning of February. So we need to have everything in place. We've already got some ideas behind sort of the exhibition and how it will look. The sort of concept of a living room, which we can explain more another time to you. So lots of opportunities. We really want your input and ideas to help sort of shape the larger program. And it is very much dependent and driven by yourselves. You know, we're a non-for-profit organisations. We sit below the Built Environment Trust, which is a charity, and this is very much an educational and a call to action in terms of the exhibitions and the events that we hope to be delivering. So hopefully that sort of gives you a very quick, brief overview. I'm conscious of time because it's a half-an-hour webinar and we're already approaching 25 minutes, and I'm sure there's some questions that have come in that we can hopefully answer.
Yep. So I think what we want to say is that there's a couple of questions, but do get in touch as John has set out, and you can get in touch with us on these email addresses. I think maybe we could come to some questions, but also maybe acknowledge one or two other things as well. Obviously, this is about us trying to co-create and put on this exhibition and this program of work, and we need your support to do that. But we would also say that if you are coming from a similar position as us as a not-for-profit or a community organisation, and you feel you have something that you can share, don't let that stop you getting in touch with us. And we don't know what shape any of that might take yet, but I think what we want to say is we recognise that there is value of a range of different voices, and we do want to hear from that. So don't let that last slide prevent you from getting in touch with us if you sit in that space. Do we have some questions?
So there's a very easy one to start with. Avan asks if we can send the presentation around. So yeah, absolutely. We'll send the presentation around. We'll send around a package of information to all of you after this session. We've got a question from Steve McKenzie. I'm just going to sort of summarize, but it's really talking about informing the public on what this means. So I wondered if we wanted to talk a little bit about the target audience for this series, and also the sorts of people that have sort of come along in the past, John, so because I know it's quite varied.
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, there's a large people from industry that want to be informed and share their knowledge, and we want to encourage them. But the general public are very important to us, and obviously those are that we need to educate and inform of the benefits and how to achieve retrofitting. So actually, as part of Retrofit 23, we had an educational partner. We will look for an educational partner again for next year's programme. It was Leeds Beckett University's Sustainability Institute. And we had Cafe Retrofit days whereby we invited the Professor Down from the university, who gave an overview of measures that could be undertaken. We asked a number of manufacturers to come in so they could have one-on-one consultations with individuals and share their knowledge. So we're very much looking to deliver that same type of program throughout Retrofit 25 as well.
Right.
So we've got a couple of questions from Alice Moncaster. She's asking how the opportunities for academics to get involved and present, and also around the case studies and the evidence and behind the data that's presented. I would say I think that this is a great opportunity for academics to increase the reach of studies that they've been doing and make sure that more people can access those. And we know that that's really important to universities in terms of how their ref scores and that sort of thing. So we think that this could be a really positive way to show industry impact with some of the amazing research you're doing. So yeah, we definitely recommend that you get in touch. In terms of the case studies, the format that I remember submitting a case study for last year, and the format was very much a combination of qualitative and quantitative data. And there is a requirement for lots of the case studies to have data on, for example, whole life carbon emissions.
Yeah.
Obviously, the pro formas of that we'll work through with the building centre. But yeah, we do like to balance both the story with the hard data behind it as well. And
Yes.
I'm assuming that's your approach as well, John.
Very much so, yeah. I mean, we actually had a number of events that was focused around the use of data and sharing of data to make more informed decisions. So again, that's very important, and it will be showcased throughout the exhibition as well.
And I suppose the point to make as well is that we've talked very much about the 8 themes, and we're probably envisaging the physical exhibition part of that. But also don't forget there is this programme of talks and workshops and a whole range of other things that is yet to be programmed out. So there's opportunities for that to have a particular audience focus. So any and all of these ideas we're all ears to hear about.
We've got another question on how does this fit with the other National Retrofit Hub marketing panel activities, and where is the exhibition going to be located? So an easy one and a harder one. So John, do you want to go on location?
Yeah. So yeah, for those who are not familiar, the building centre has a central hub for the built environment. We have venue hire areas in terms of conference space. We have exhibition space in terms of product galleries. And we run this program of temporary exhibitions and events looking at particular subjects. This one, obviously, retrofitting. So the location is central London, although a lot of the events will be delivered as webinars so that we can reach out nationwide. And we're very much up to hosting events at other people's facilities as well. Not every event has to take place at the building centre. And we as part of this year's program, we had somewhere in the region of about 7 walking tours of buildings that had been retrofitted, where the architect and client was very kindly allowed us to come in and show us around and talk about the measures that were undertaken. So yeah, very diverse, but the actual physical exhibition will be at the building centre, 26 Store Street.
And in terms of how this works alongside our other work, we as the National Retrofit Hub are helping to curate all of the content of this exhibition and event series, and through our partnership with the building centre, that will sit alongside, and that will mostly feature people like yourselves who are joining this, rather than it being directly focused on our work. Our events and webinars that talk about our own resources and our own work will also continue as normal. This is really an opportunity to showcase what's happening all through the sector.
And I suppose a note to say that everything else that we're involved in, we try to ensure that the conferences, the panel speaking events, things are all part of an ongoing conversation, so that we're progressing towards the ultimate aim and mission of enabling the local delivery of retrofit at scale. So yeah, we are driven by that mission fundamentally, and so everything that we do and that we want to get involved in is part of that activity.
I think we've come to the end of our time, but yeah, thanks very much for joining us all, and if you have any questions, do get in touch with any of us. We'll send round a pack of information afterwards. You've got John and Laura's email address up there on the screen as well. John, I don't know if you've got any final message that you want to say.
No, look, as you both said, we really want to hear from you. We want to understand your ideas and get your input to make sure that this is the biggest and best show that we've put on so far.
Thanks everybody.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks now. Bye-bye.